Now, looking at the latest developments at Eskom further, we now speak to Frans Beleni. He's the General Secretary at the NUM. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Beleni. The NUM, as well as COSATU, say Mr. Tsotsi should also step down. What's the basis of this stance?
Thanks for having us. This chairperson is not fit to lead this state entity, which is so critical to our economy. Firstly, he has collapsed good governance in Eskom. He was at the center when the previous board was in trouble. He's also a dancing partner in the current board. He has taken executive roles and responsibilities when he's a non-executive director. He has actually disunited the board instead of uniting the board.
Now, board members aside, do your members who are very close to the workings of Eskom believe that this inquiry that Mr. Tsotsi announced would take place about 10 days ago, do they believe that it's going to be worth the money or even the time? After all, we do know of Eskom's shortfalls. We know that they have many shortfalls. Those have been in the public domain for quite some time.
We have the view that this, according to our members, this inquiry is not going to help us anymore. There have been a number of outstanding matters our members have put before the board, which under the stewardship of Mr. Tsotsi, they have not even responded to many of those issues. All of a sudden, they speed to deal with so-called inquiry, which we think is a mere mechanism of creating instability at the executive level. In the process, they might be looting.
Now, Mr. Beleni, unions have voiced their concern and their readiness to take Eskom on with regards to the 12.69% electricity tariff hike effective next month. But realistically, what can you guys really do, given that this is a decision that's been taken by the regulator, NERSA?
You would recall that in the past, there was an attempt by Eskom to demand over 25% tariff increase. We mobilize ourselves and our members and communities, and we manage to get lower tariff increase for Eskom. If we are united again, we might succeed, because the implication of a higher tariff increase, it will result in some instances, like the mines, for example, where they will say the overheads have suddenly increased, we're cutting jobs. So workers will be casualties to this abnormal tariff increase.
Now, but Mr. Beleni, you know, the problem that we keep on hearing is that our tariffs are not cost reflective. So even if you were to win the day in terms of trying to get the tariff lowered, it still means that Eskom is going to be faced with this dire economic situation and not be able to afford the plans that it has.
The issue of the tariffs not cost reflective is something which we need to further analyze. Our understanding, for example, if you are calling for a cost-reflective tariff, you are actually saying a person in Cape Town and Eastern Cape must pay more because electricity is wheeled from Mpumalanga, and their cost you lose in the process through that transmission. As it's delivered to you, it should cost you more. Until that cannot be allowed if we want to build the basic economy. So we have a problem about cost-reflective tariffs, because they're not properly analyzed and the consequence thereof.
So now, as you mobilize yourselves to try and address the tariff issue, where's your first port of call? Do you speak with the Minister of Public Enterprises first?
Firstly, on the issue of the chairperson, we are in the process of engaging the Minister of Public Enterprise. We are mobilizing our members, which might result to preventing the chairperson of the board getting into that megawatt park office. With regard to the tariff increase, jointly and as COSATU, we will be making a submission to the relevant Ministry of Energy, who is responsible for NERSA and regulation of electricity.
All right. Well, thanks very much for that, Mr. Beleni. That was General Secretary of the NUM, Frans Beleni. Government